A true story about a true hero. Last night I went to go and see an advanced screening of the upcoming movie documentary Superman, a Christopher Reeve story. So let's talk about it. Hello, welcome back to a brand new video, a brand new movie review, and today we're talking all about the upcoming movie documentary Superman, a Christopher Reeve story. Last night I was lucky enough to attend an advanced screening of it, so I'm talking all about it today. And before I do, just a friendly reminder as always, these are just my thoughts, so don't let this dictate whether or not you decide to go and see the film. You might go and see it and you might feel totally differently to me, and that is okay because movies aren't made to cater for every person on this planet. So without any further ado, let's start talking about it. And obviously this film really does push the boundary when it comes to sort of a movie. It's not really a movie, it is a documentary essentially. It's a documentary telling his life, and when I say his life, it talks more so about becoming Superman and then his life after being cast as Superman, being known as Superman, and follows the story of his life after having his tragic accident. And do you know, this film is obviously really more so for people that are fans of Christopher Reeve, people that are fans of Superman, more so his Superman than just a fan of Superman. And do you know what, I've never been so partial to the Superman films. They're not really films that bother me too much. I've not been a huge fan. But whenever I think of Superman, I do think of the Christopher Reeve Superman. I feel like he has always been the best Superman. He's the one that I've kind of watched at Christmas. You know, they're the sort of films that would be on during the festive season. I'd be watching with my family, just in the background. That's the sort of vibe I get from his films. And he's always been my favourite Superman. And when I saw this come up and I had the opportunity to see it at an advanced screening, I took the opportunity with open arms, and I was really quite excited to see it. Just to learn a bit about his life, because you know, I know of him, I've seen him in things, mainly Superman, but you know, I knew the basics. I knew that he had an accident on a horse, and obviously that impacted the rest of his life, but I never quite knew the severity of the situation. And this movie documentary does a really incredible job of telling the story of it, but it just shows the type of person that Christopher Reeve was, you know, the fighter that he is, and you know, essentially how he let nothing get in his way. He was determined to walk again. He was determined to help out thousands of people across the world who also suffer with spinal cord injuries and, you know, suffer with being paralyzed. And I just feel like this just shows you the type of person he was. You know, if you never knew much about him, this film really does you know, just demonstrate and portray what an incredible guy he really was. And you know, it doesn't really show much of his early life. It does gently touch on it, and it does briefly talk to you a little bit about his early days, but nothing much. It's more so about Christopher Reeve becoming Superman, then being known as Superman, and then obviously going through all of the unfortunate things that happened to him. And you know, I never knew about the Christopher Reeve Foundation. This movie documentary talks about it, about how he set up this foundation, this charity to help people like him. And it just, you know, it's not something that I could be critical. It's nothing. This is not a film really that me or anyone else can be critical. I feel like if people are being critical about this film, then they've clearly not understood what this is about. This is not a movie that's been made to entertain. It's not been, right, let's create an idea for a film to put in cinemas. It's not. It is a documentary. It's not a film that's been made to entertain you. You know, that let's go to the cinema and, you know, go and watch a film. You know, it's a film that's for people that are fans of Christopher Reeve. It's not just a general film, a 90-minute film that's going to make you laugh and all of that. It's not that. It's a documentary. And, you know, if people are going to come on here and start criticising it and be very critical about it, then to me, I don't feel like they grasp the true concept of the movie film, because it's a documentary ultimately, and you know, that is a true portrayal of his life. You know, we hear from his family how they were impacted by it, and I feel like that's quite interesting because, yes, ultimately it's a story about Christopher Reeve and how he had to live being paralysed. But there's also so many people around him that were also affected by it, you know, and it's really, really lovely. There's also some tributes to Robin Williams, because he was a close friend of Christopher Reeve. And, you know, there's a moment, not to spoil it, but there's a moment where someone says, I truly believe that if Christopher Reeve was still alive today, Robin Williams would also still be alive today. So it's quite nice because you not only hear about Christopher Reeve, you do hear about his family and some of his famous friends. And, you know, there was quite an emotional bit at the end of the documentary that talks about his son and the really unfortunate things that happened to him within 18 months of his dad passing away. I'm not going to spoil it because, you know, it kind of defeats the whole objective of going to see this in cinemas. But it is a really, really fascinating documentary, ultimately. And you know, if you're a fan of Christopher Reeve, if you're a fan of his Spider-Man, I would 100% recommend to go and see it, because, you know, you probably know much more than I did going in to see it last night. You might go and see it knowing a little bit more, but it just blew me away. It really, really did, and it just made me really just appreciate his work in films now, but also appreciate the type of person he is, and it really did kind of blow me away in that respect. It was a really solid documentary discussing his life, and I now feel like I know Christopher Reeve much, much more than I ever did. So that is pretty much as much as I can talk about this, really. It's in cinemas across the UK from November 1st, if you want to go and check it out. I'm not going to rate it out of 10, and I'm obviously not going to be able to buy it on DVD because I have a very high feeling that this is not going to be given a DVD release here in the UK. But there you go, there's my thoughts on Superman, a Christopher Reeve story. It's in cinemas across the UK from the 1st of November. In the description below is the plot, a link to the movie trailer, and as well as that, my movie review playlist is also down there for you to check out every other movie review that I've ever done. Plenty more to come very soon. And hopefully I shall see you in another video and another movie review very soon.